Hello and welcome to another episode of intelliTALKS, and my guest for today is none other than Dano Falk. Dano, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Marcel, is that right?
Yeah, you
Marcel, right, is
pronounced
your
it
name?
perfectly. Yes, that's the
Yeah,
Romanian pronunciation actually, so you got it perfectly.
yeah.
Yeah,
I had the privilege to learn how to spell your name on our last little session. So yeah,
exactly. For those that don't know, I've been a guest also in Dano's podcast, so make sure you also look it up because I've shared quite some very nice information about myself there because Dano challenged me into going deep into some of the childhood thoughts, and yeah, it's really a
yeah,
nice conversation. I recommend it. Maybe Dano, I'll add here in the description the link to that podcast as well for those who are interested in learning
yeah. I
more.
mean, whoever wants to learn more about how Marcel was when he was 10 years old, yeah, click the link and then you know.
Yeah, it was very nice because usually people don't think about how were you when you were 10 or something like that, and you
Yeah.
just hit me like that. Oh, okay, I have to think this through. What happened
I
then?
did give you a warning, though. I did
Yeah,
warn you, but
fair enough.
yeah, I mean, I know this is a bit of an unusual angle to talk about, the life story, how I call it, yeah, the life
Exactly.
journey.
Yeah. So it was a great journey. But for today, Dano is here to tell us something very, very nice about a very good topic about how you can start or you can improve if you're already selling on Amazon Japan. So I'm really, really curious on these details because for me personally, as an Amazon seller, I didn't go that far along into Amazon Japan, but I'm sure
It's
I'll
it's
get
it's
some
far away
insights.
from Europe. I agree.
Exactly. I'm sure actually it's the third biggest. Is it the third biggest
Fourth
marketplace?
biggest, yeah.
Fourth. All right. So
US,
it's
UK, Germany, Japan, yeah.
there you go. So it's quite promising from every perspective, but I don't want to spoil the presentation. So Dano, whenever you're ready,
Mm.
uh, we can start.
Yes, let's go.
All right.
Yes, so today is about the lucrative potential of selling on Amazon Japan. Yeah, a few words about
Let's
myself. Dano
please.
Falk, yes?
Yeah, please tell us a bit about yourself and about what
Yeah,
DefDevice actually does. It's very important for everyone to understand. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm the e-commerce consultant and founder of DefDevice. I've been an entrepreneur for my entire life. I never been employed ever. I built around 16. I lost count. Mostly online businesses. I've been selling on Amazon US for 5 years. In 2019, I sold my business, and then I decided that I want to continue sharing my experience and helping other sellers and businesses to grow online with what I've learned with my agency DefDevice, which is based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Yeah.
So
So
a good place to visit.
before, yeah. If any one of our visitors, yeah, listeners here comes to Malaysia, let me know. I know a few nice places to visit. But today is all about Japan, which is not so far from Malaysia. I mean, it's still like a 4 hours flight. But before we talk about Japan, I like to do like a little introduction of what Japan is about and how it's different from Europe. So let's
Mhm.
look at Japanese culture for a little while. So it is very different from what we know, and there are a few things we just need to be aware of. Respect and etiquette, for example, it plays a big role in Japanese culture. So they place a strong emphasis on politeness, respect, and hierarchy. So bowing is one of the things that they do. We have group harmony called 𝗲. So Japanese society values group harmony and emphasizes collective well-being over individual desires. We have traditional arts and ceremonies. There's a rich heritage of traditional arts such as tea ceremonies, flower arranging, calligraphy, and so forth. There is this concept of saving face. So it's critical to avoid embarrassment, confrontation, causing discomfort to others. This can lead to indirect communication and a preference to non-confrontational approaches. One would hope that this would also lead to people not giving bad reviews on Amazon, but that's unfortunately not the case. You still can get 1-star reviews on Amazon. Then we have this appreciation for seasons. So there's like a rich nature, seasonal changes, and deeply integrated in Japanese culture. Events and traditions are often tied to the seasons, like cherry blossom, spring, autumn foliage, and so forth. Then last but not least, anime is another big part of Japanese culture. It comes from the word animation, and is a distinct form of animated entertainment that holds immense cultural significance in Japan. Japanese language is something that we really have to be aware of, because it's so different from what we know when we speak English. It has 3+1 scripts, so to say. So there's kanji, which is like the classic, it's borrowed from Chinese. Then there's hiragana, which is the native Japanese script. Katakana is how they describe foreign language aspects. And then they also mix it with English. So we have basically 4 different scripts that can appear when we describe, so which is super relevant when we talk about keywords and search terms and how people are looking for stuff. So it's not in English like we have this one script and, you know, we see how people spell this or what phrases they use. But it actually, like, it's kind of ×4, because even one search term can be spelled out in different ways. A little example here, just the word Tokyo itself, yeah? So we can spell Tokyo in 3 different ways, which is something that one would not expect, you know, when we come from a Western background. Public holidays, also very different. So, for example, one thing to take note of, there is no Christmas. Yeah, so if this is a list of the Japanese holidays ranked by importance versus the US holidays ranked by their relevance. So you can see, like, there is still New Year's Day and so forth, but it's a different structure of holidays, which we also need to take note of when we do any kind of holiday promotions. Just a few numbers just to get like a bird's eye view on this thing. So just to compare like Japan and US to give some kind of to see what it looks like in comparison. So the population is 123 million. It's about 1/3 of the US population. They have a decent disposable income and GDP. Less than 30% of Japanese people speak English. That is one thing to take note of. Yeah, so in US, surprisingly, only 91% of population speaks English, not 100. So running a listing in English in Japan and also like inserts is not the best idea. But we have a very the national groups, like the ethnic groups in Japanese are 98%. So 98% of Japanese people are actually Japanese, which is, again, very different from a country like the United States, where also, to my surprise, the Germans are the biggest national group. So followed by the African Americans and Mexicans. Mm-hmm. Average age is slightly higher than the US. The largest city is 3 times bigger than New York, 37 million people in Tokyo. And we have 100 million plus Amazon users, which makes it the 4th biggest Amazon marketplace on the planet.
Not bad. Yeah.
When we look at marketplaces, like e-commerce marketplaces in Japan, Amazon happens to be the biggest. According to visitors per month. So we have almost 600 million visitors per month on Amazon Japan, followed by Rakuten, Yahoo, and the other ones. Again, compared to the US, Amazon also is the biggest, but then the follow-up is different. So there's eBay, Walmart, Craigslist, and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this kind of paints the big picture of what Japan is about. I mean, like the most basic things that we need to know when we want to enter this marketplace. I just want to quickly summarize the opportunity here. So why would we consider to sell on Amazon Japan? So of course, the first reason would be that the market size is over 123 million people, and it's the fourth biggest Amazon marketplace on the planet. We have high GDP per capita. We have a strong economy and disposable income. We have a cultural affinity to online shopping, so we don't have to tell people, you know, buy online, because that's what they do. And they do appreciate Western goods and Western culture and brands. So having an established brand in Western countries can actually be an advantage. Proximity to China. So quite a few of us private label sellers manufacture in China. Now, if you ship a container from China to Japan, the shipping time is about 2 days. And of course, the shipping cost is also just a fraction of what we have when we ship to Europe or the US. And then, of course, we should also consider if our competitors right now are selling on Amazon Japan, because it could be a great advantage to be the first to the marketplace and start selling our products in Japan, whereas our competition is still focusing on other marketplaces, so we can get a head start. Yeah, so these will be the summary of the opportunities. But we also, of course, need to consider the challenges. So what are we facing when we go to Japan? Number one, of course, is the language barrier and the culture itself. It's very different. So this slide here just these are a few magazine covers that I put together just to illustrate how different the visual culture in Japan looks like compared to Europe or the US. So there is this very interesting contrast between the Zen minimalism part, which is part of the culture, and then there's this completely overcrowded media and visual landscape, which has a very stark contrast. Now, if we create listings, of course, we need to take note of all these cultural things to appeal to the Japanese buyers. So number one, keyword research, we have to kind of consider all the 4 different scripts that can be used to search for our products. And then when we create infographics and images, then we also have to take note of how this is done in Japan, which is a bit different from what we are used to. There are restrictions. So there are quite a few product categories for which we need permission. And mostly these are food, cutlery, health products, electronics, toys, and beauty. So if we are selling in those categories, we have to check with importing compliance first and get permission to import our products. Then another challenge is definitely driving external traffic, which is for marketing people is like a second nature. We can just run some Facebook ads, Google ads, and so forth. We can create our brand website quite easily, but to do all these things in Japan is slightly more complex because, yeah, we have to do it in Japanese. And the social media landscape is also quite different compared to Europe or the US. For example, the biggest social media platform is Line, which most of us in the West are not even familiar. Yeah, LINE. It's like the Line. That's what almost everybody is using in Japan. And Facebook, I think, is number 4 something from in terms of size of social media. So other things to consider: trademark approval and brand registry. We definitely have to check if our trademark and brand is available. What is mandatory also is an import of record. So we do not need a company, but we need a local company who will be our importer of record. And then another thing is also, of course, our packaging, our inserts, our manuals. So if we are selling like complex products in Japan, we should not simply like keep the same English manual. We should also consider to translate all these things. So yeah, having mentioned the opportunities and the challenges, the roadmap that I would suggest is very simple. Step one is the evaluation part, is like where we want to see if our brand, our product would be a good fit, would have a good chance to succeed in Japan. To do that, number one, of course, is market research. We want to find out what are our keywords in Japan. And then we want to check the sales volume, pricing, review count. We want to see who are our competitors, and we want to get like a good picture of what is happening in our niche, in our product category in Japan. Then we want to check the
tools. Dano, sorry to interrupt. Are there any tools that can help us with this? Is like, for example, ☆cie_10 or Jungle Scout available with some?
So there, I mean, that was one of the first things that I was struggling when I started like managing accounts in Japan, to see which of the tools that come natural to us, like Jungle Scout, ☆10, and a few others, are working in Japan. But actually ☆10 does work in Japan. So that's the good news is, yes, you can just continue. If you have ☆10, you can just add a Japanese account, and you can actually do keyword research, and you can you can use 𝗪𝗵𝘀 and all that stuff actually in Japan. So you can use that stuff.
We're used to tools, and making the tools really make our life easier. So it's important.
Of course. I mean, without some keyword research tool, there's no way to to really get the big picture. We need a tool like ☆10, and there are a few others, of course, but we need research tools to give us search volume and competitor landscape and all that. Then we want to, of course, consider the import regulations. So if you're selling supplements, food products, or electronics, we want to make sure that we can get approval for our products. And then we also want to check if our trademark is available. The platform for that is called 𝗏𝗏𝗏, which I find quite amusing. But if you go to j-𝗏𝗏𝗏.infit, well, I'm not going to spell out the URL here, but so there is a trademark registration office, of course, just like USPTO in the US. So there's a way to check if our trademark and our product category is available, and that's something also very important to check before we embark into.
Do you know if you need an attorney to embark on a trademark registration, or you can do it yourself?
I think you can. I mean, we did this on our own actually. So it is possible to just go. They have an English version of the website, but of course, if you want to, if there is an issue and if it's not completely clear, if your trademark is available, then I would definitely hire an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
That is the professional way, I guess. But if it's available, you could just simply go and register it. Then we can just do it ourselves.
I remember in US you were able to register the trademark by yourself, but then they added the mandatory attorney registration. So you need an attorney. I was making the connection.
Back in the days, in 2014, I think I still could just register by myself, but I still hired an attorney because there's this word mark, and then there's this image mark, and I don't understand all this stuff. So it's definitely helpful to have a professional person to navigate this whole stuff. And when we kind of did our homework, and yes, we do help our clients to do this evaluation, but you can of course try it yourself to do your market research. And if you see that there's a green light and there's an opportunity, which is the case most of the time, then the next step would be to get started, which is pretty much straightforward. So we just find and hire our importer of record. That's the one formal step we have to take. And then, which also, of course, makes sense to have a 3PL partner, and we are working with a 3PL warehouse logistics partner who happens to have their warehouse right next door to the Amazon warehouse, so they could carry new inventory around, the block to the Amazon warehouse, which kind of makes sense. And then, of course, the standard procedure of creating your listings, and of course you have to do it in Japanese, create infographics, send inventory, and set up
I'm
your
curious
PPC
on the
campaigns.
listings. You've mentioned 3 dialects, so to call them. You need to create the listings in all 3, and maybe English as well?
No, you just, what we need to do is, what I recommend to do is to just look at your competitors and then go, for example, to Helium-10 and see what they're ranking for. And then, of course, we need to translate everything, because when you look at these search terms, you don't understand anything at all. So what I would do is I would go to Helium-10. I would just do a cerebral research on one of your competitors. And then I would copy paste all the search terms into a Google Sheet and create a second column where you do this auto translate from Japanese to English, which you can do with a formula. And that is when you get an idea, what these search terms are. And sometimes you are surprised, like the same thing can be written in 10 different ways. So one search term in English can be written in many different ways because of these different scripts. It's not like they write it in one script and then in another script and the third script, but they actually mix it up, So they put Chinese and Japanese characters like next to each other, and then they can also mix it up like with the like iPhone case, So they would write the iPhone would be written in English, and then case can be written in many different ways. It depends like where these people have, come from. So they can write case in many different ways. So that is where we need to do this in-depth research to understand how people actually write things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how it basically works.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course the off Amazon presence, that's a chapter on its own, which would be like maybe topic for another workshop or a podcast. But this is, we all understand that these are like the basic steps to get started. But we are happy to help. So if you need help with any of the above, you can just reach out to us. This is the QR code leads to our contact page. And that's how we can also have a chat and see how we can help you.
Super. So basically, just to make everyone understand, you can help them from, let's say, from the first evaluation period, and then next with the startup as well. So you can definitely join their journey when it comes to making their presence.
We can do the whole turnkey thing. So what we can do is we can do the evaluation. That's we do this like we have 2 slots per week where we do this for free, where we kind of evaluate the brand's opportunity in Japan. And then we can help with all the things that need to be done, the import of record, trademark registration, all that. And we can also, of course, help creating the listings, and we do account management. So we can basically kind of run your Amazon Japan business pretty much hands-free.
That's awesome, Dano. So that's incredible. Also, I'm sure that you can maybe extend your free audit to the people that are watching this podcast, and if they reach out for a free audit and mention they've seen this podcast, maybe you can help them out.
Yes, please do so. If you have watched this podcast, just mention intelliRANK, and we will be happy to help you out and check what is your potential in Japan.
Actually, it's a quite intriguing for me as well. It's an intriguing country, but it's a matter of having the right partner to get on this journey. And from my perspective, working with a good partner like DefDevice here, like Dano, is a great way forward. Because personally, me as an entrepreneur, I don't like to take the whole wind into my chest all the time, just to test things and learn on my own mistakes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, we can do everything ourselves, yes. But then I read a book that says "Who, not how," which is a very important question for me to ask in my businessman journey. So if we keep asking how, yes, we can find out how, but we're not going to scale. But if we ask the question who, and of course DefDevice would be one option for the Amazon Japan who, then we can scale things up and we can get the right people on board. So
that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I like this one. I'll look up this book because it's very interesting.
Yeah, I forgot the author, but it's an amazing. I really recommend this book, Who Not How. Yeah, it kind of explains this concept of scaling. Yeah,
very nice. All right, Dano, thank you very much for your time and for the presentation. I'll sure include all the information in the description here. And yeah, for everyone that's interested to join Dano and actually expand to the Amazon Japan, just reach out to Dano for a free audit, and yeah, who knows, you can pick it up from there. I'm sure it will be a great, let's say, advantage in this expanding to Amazon Japan.
Yes, right. Man, adventure awaits. Yeah, thanks so much for having me here. Yeah, and pleasure, I'm happy to help the audience.
Awesome. All right, thank you, and yeah, until next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye.